we are, John Hall of Blues Creek Guitars, and I am in the process of doing a conversion from a D28 to a D45. Now that means I'm taking something from a lower standard to a higher. So originally, this was what the top rosette looked like. A 45 has a lot of pearl, so I had to figure out a way to remove the old rosette and put a new one in. I also had to figure out, up here there is going to be a perimeter of pearl that comes down and across and up. So I had to lay all of that out. Now what really makes this a little tricky is this is the original inner rosette ring. That is the original spacer for the rosette. From here to here was removed, and I set a piece of wood in here and recut the new rosette. And you can see I have the pearl and all of that happy. Now the real, I should say the original 45, the rosette is actually back a little bit further because of the pearl perimeter for the fingerboard extension. So I kind of had to figure out how to lay all of that out so when I put this up, the fingerboard extension would fall out, so when the pearl comes across, it will hit this the way it's supposed to. The next step of this happy job will be taking the 28 checker strip out and replacing it with a 45. And you're going to see that process as that comes along later. And I'm going to be using an inlay tool, something similar to this, that I can set up and run a straight edge to route this out and then replace it with this. So, watch for the next one. All right, John Hall of Blues Creek Guitars. We're doing a conversion, and this is a Martin D28 getting converted to a 45. And the reason that I'm doing this is because the guitar needed a lot of work, and all of the structural issues, while had been addressed, my customer felt that he wanted to do a 45 because the amount of work that we had to do devalued the original guitar. So we went with a 45 style. To that I had to redo the rosette to the 45 style rosette, as you can see. There was a big ugly footprint here on the bridge because it was done poorly. So that's going to stand out and finish out and will be all right. I have things routed for my 45 pearl, which was going to be a black, white, black, a pearl, black, white, black. Now, when I go to do the fingerboard extension, I create these little sticks. And these sticks will fit in here, and they'll go around the extension, and you'll see that process later as we go. I redid the fretboard, and I created a 45 fretboard. I also did a new headstock veneer, and you can see I plugged the holes. So we created a 45 style on the D28. Now I'm going to get ready to do all of the binding, and the binding had to be done in such a way that here you can probably see a bit of a step, and that step represents the pearl. We have the binding that's going to be about a 16th of an inch. The pearl is 50 thousandths, so we're talking almost 15 thousandths difference. So there's that step for that reason. If you tried to do that even, you'll end up pinching your binding out. Then I also took the tail wedge out, and you can see I have my tail wedge with the poly strip in there, which is going to hold the spot for the pearl. I have my rough miters in. I'll be taking care of that shortly. I replaced the back strip, and the neck is going to fit in here, and I have all of that done. So now I'm going to start doing the binding, and you'll get to see that transformation as we go along. Well, we're back to work on our conversion, and I kind of want to explain to you what we're kind of doing here. When I do my tie-in here for the fingerboard extension, I like to glue these little sticks up. Then that way, these are going in one piece, and I don't have to fight with a bunch of little pieces in there. And you can see when this goes in here how tight that all goes together. What's important to do all of this, all of these miters have to line up. So can you see how that lines up over here and over here? Because as we get these miters to go in, down here, this all has to get mitered into the binding, which you're going to see shortly. But the important thing is, this part of the tie-in, so here goes the neck. So you can see how this is going to tie in here at the side, right? And then that miter wraps around and grabs a fingerboard extension. You can see it there. And you can see this side over here. So once you get these points set, then you can go and begin doing the binding, which I will be doing now. The other thing that you have to look at is on the tail piece. When you look at the tail section, you can see I have a black, white, black. This will be a black, white that ties in here. The black, white carries across here, but I need that black to contrast on the ivoroid. So right now you can see I have a poly strip in here. That's spacing that gap for me for when I actually put the pearl in, which you will see shortly. And here you can see how my center line lines up with the multi-color. And that is, all of those little details are so important in doing the mitering. When I did the rosette, you can see all of that pearl, but you can see when I did that spruce, all of that spruce tie-in, that all matches out. So that was important. So this is only part one. You're going to get to see a few more parts till we're done. Okay, so when starting all of this mitering, you see, I have a picture. This, I actually super glued these together. So instead of trying to fight 7 pieces, I'm now working 3. And you can see this miter's matched up. This miter has matched up. My binding is on, so I just gave that a hit with glue. And now I'm going to be able to go all the way around. And this is the critical part to getting that starting point. Once you get your starting point, you're going to go. So after here, even though I have a little bit of pearl, I did that to match all of this. Now I'm going to use my poly filler. All right. Well, I always say luthier in French means man who learns to cuss. Well, I got 14 new words today. Remember, everything has to lay out at the corners, at your miter points. You got to be very careful when you're running your purflings that they don't want to roll over on you. So you can see I got black, white, black, pearl space, black, white, pearl space, black, white, black. All of that has to be done. Now I just got to let the glue sit. But you can see how much fun this is. But what's going to look pretty is when the pearl's in. Okay, we're progressing through now. You can see the back has been, the pearl's been dropped in, the top. All of the miters that were tied in have been dropped in. I'm starting the side, so I just started here at the neck. So you can see I have them dropped in. Now there's differences in the pearl. This is 65 thousandths. Back side pearl, it's 49 thousandths. So always start at your miters and then work back. So I have the neck done on one side. Now I'm going to do the tail on the other side. Bloop. And then, next time you're going to see that side done. it.